jump right in, and we're going to start with Dominique, profit and wealth strategist. So, introduce yourself and tell us about what you do and what you're seeing in the world today. I know with money, with the world of COVID, I mean, you must be seeing all kinds of different realms of struggle and of wealth and success. And so, what's going on?
Yeah, so thank you for having me, Amy, today. I really, really appreciate it. So, as you know, money is an important topic. Money makes the world go round, and my job is to help primarily women in business understand how to develop the mindset along with the strategies to build a profitable, sustainable business that they can then leverage for personal wealth. So just to give you a little bit of background as to why I'm qualified to talk about that. I've been in the financial services industry for over 20 years. I was a financial advisor for many years. And what I really saw being a financial advisor and being on the front line and having those important conversations about financials day in, day out, was that there's a real difference between the way that women and men have a relationship with money. For women, money is a very emotive topic. It's a very loaded topic. And it's like a minefield of emotions, not knowing which triggers are going to pull the bomb. So it was really, really important for me, having identified that, to go away and do some qualifications around the mindset. So I'm also qualified, I've got a diploma in hypnotherapy, EFT, and NLP. Because money is such an emotive topic, what it does is it can really prevent us from creating the financial successes in our life that we truly desire and also we deserve. And I think, obviously, money has always been important. Some people say money is not important. I would question that, and I would go back to understanding their beliefs around money that leads them to believe that. But obviously, with everything that's happened in the last 12 months, life has really changed for many, and we've unfortunately seen a lot of businesses fold. We've seen people lose their jobs, their incomes overnight. So money has really become even more of an important topic over the last 12 months. And part of my mission is really to help financially empower women to stand in their financial powers. So Amy, you were talking about, the experiences that you've been through and what led you to kind of pull together this series. And I can completely relate to that. So as I said, I've always been in the financial services industry. But I went through a marital breakup around 2 years now. And, whilst that was devastating emotionally, I didn't have to worry about the financial devastation of that because I had set up myself and my means to mean that I was still able to afford my lifestyle without that person being there. So I was able to remain in the marital home and buy him out of the home. Now, what I see for a lot of women, both women who have careers and also women in business as well, is that 2 out of 3 women will actually lose their marital homes if they go through a divorce or subsequently a breakup. And it comes back to really not empowering themselves financially to, quite often as women, we're conditioned society and also cultural conditioning to believe that it's a man's job to manage the money, to bring in the bacon. And these kind of stigmas have been holding us back for many, many years. So it's important that we have these conversations about money and we normalize the conversations around money and women having wealth, because when a woman has wealth, she is able to make decisions from a place of empowerment. She's able to bring herself to the table and stand in her power and take control of her life based on the ability that she knows that she has the income or the means to be able to sustain her own life. And I think that's really, really important for women. So I'm on a personal mission to really empower women financially as much as possible. And that comes, as I said, from the mindset side of things, but also understanding the skill set. It's not impossible to create wealth. This is what I tell people. People think that creating wealth is this, Beyonce lifestyle, it's flying on private jets and it's, living this affluent life. And that's not true. Being wealthy is not just about the financial aspects. It's about all realms of your life. And it's being able to just live comfortably and to be able to sustain your life and also go to bed each night with financial ease. That to me is what I try and bring for all of anyone that I ever work with is that financial ease more than anything. Because I know a lot of people who make a lot of money, but actually have no financial ease and are very, very uncomfortable in their relationship with money. And I always say, like, money's like any relationship. It needs two things to flourish. It needs love and it needs respect. And if that is lacking, that's when you tend to have issues with your relationship with money.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Yeah. I know I have I struggle with money in my personal relationship with money and what it meant for me. So, and can you, for me, it was like success is, to me, is like soul crusher.
Yeah.
So, can you talk about what our limiting beliefs about money are? Like, I thought that if I was successful and have money, it would crush my soul.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be able to be myself and creative and right, which is opposite of what's happening today, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So it's like, can you talk about that?
Yeah. So there's a couple of primary beliefs, and the is I'm not good enough. What I will say is that our issues with money is usually, as a woman especially, is tied up in issues around our self-worth. And so it's really, really important to understand, our limiting beliefs around money, because we need to understand how that is then manifesting in our life, because that's the only way that we have the ability to change that. And it shows up in many different ways. For women, there's so much negative emotion attached to it. There's guilt, there's anxiety, there's shame. As you said, there's shame around what money has, what having money has, and then it goes to what not having money has. And I was the same. I what you were saying, Amy, I capped my income for a long time because I had been conditioned with this belief that it was emasculating for a man to have a woman earn more money than him. So for me, there was a success and being successful all the time. You can't have it all. Where's that belief even come from? We can have it all. We may not have the balance of all of that at the same time. And I don't believe in balance as well. I don't believe it's possible to have a 50-50 split in all areas of your life. But we need to start questioning some of these beliefs that we've been conditioned to believe about money. When people say it's not spiritual to have money, I would question that as well. The more money we have, the more we're able to contribute to the causes that we really value and we care about. And having money is about the ripple effect. It's about when we have no more money, we're able to, be able to give more. And that's really important as a woman, because as a woman, the relationship between money for a man and a woman is very different. For a man, it's very much power driven. For a woman, it's all about value and contribution. So when we lean into that and understand, well, actually, by financially empowering ourselves to have more, we can contribute more, then we get to change the narrative of some of these bullshit beliefs that we've been telling ourselves about what actually having money or not having money means.
So, and Lydia, thank you, Lydia. She says, like, love and respect with money sounds wonderful. So how do we start loving and respecting money? Like, what's the practice of that? How can we start really doing that?
Yeah, so one of the simplest techniques that you could do, and this is something you can do daily, is gratitude. So a lot of people live in a fear-based, so scarcity-based mindset when it comes to money. They're fearful of money. They're fearful that there's not enough. And there is always enough. We live in an unlimited universe that provides us with everything that we need. And that's apparent through miracles every single day. But we have to get into that mindset, that abundance-based mindset of believing that it's possible. So simply putting together a gratitude list every single day. So I always say to my clients, just start with 3 things. 3 things. It could be you're grateful for the roof over your head, because money provides you with that. It could be that you're grateful for the hot running water, because it means that, because obviously other people are not so fortunate in other parts of the world. So what we need to do is move into the abundance mindset and be grateful for all the things that money brings us. And when we start to do that, we start to rewire our mind to look for those things, to live more in the abundance-based mindset, and pay attention to the things that money brings about that brings good into our life or makes us feel good. So gratitude is definitely one way to start.
Mm-hmm. And so what would you suggest? Because when you were speaking earlier, so let's say I'm married, I'm have 2 kids, and at this point I'm not working because I'm raising the kids at home, like many of us, like many women do. So how can she really start creating that? I don't know. How do you do it? You have to depend on the guy somehow, right? So there must be something that has to happen in that relationship.
Yeah. So communication is a big part of it. Like a lot of people are not comfortable having conversations with their spouses. We need to get comfortable having those conversations because, as I said, no one wants to think of the alternative, but the reality is I have seen far too much of the alternative, which is where women have been left without any means to provide for themselves financially. So we have to have these conversations up front. So I would suggest talking to your partner and agreeing, a sum of money that you are able to receive because let's face it, a woman's job as a mother and as a caretaker at home is the hardest and it's the most underpaid. So if your husband is going out and working and bringing home the bacon, so to speak, that's figuratively, literally, but figuratively, you're also pulling your weight. So there needs to be some kind of compromise as to, okay, well, if he's going to go out and earn the income, then we need to have a conversation about, providing some kind of means for you to be able to take some money yourself, to be able to pay yourself as well. And what I would suggest, and I always say this to any woman that I'm working with, is setting up a separate savings account as well. So whilst it's really, really important that we build, we're always a team when we're in a partnership, we're a team together, and we want to be building wealth together, and we want to have our savings and everything else together as a couple, we also need to have separate savings as individuals for all of the reasons that I've talked about. As I said, no one wants to think of the worst case scenario, but the reality is that it happens. And when it happens, the woman is always left in a situation financially that is more detrimental than the man himself. So it's almost about being proactive with regards to those conversations and forward thinking. I said, it's not about living in, thinking that that's going to happen, but what we want to do is ensure that if that was to happen, we have the means or we have some kind of security there to be able to provide for ourselves as well.
Mm-hmm. So 2 things come up for me. One is that I see the advantage of that because when you have a woman that has safety, she's less fearful and therefore more calm and more loving.
Yes.
Right? She's not working from a fear perspective.
Yep.
Second thing that comes up, I don't know how it is in England. I don't know if America, like the guys are like, yeah, I'll give you that savings account. So I'm not, I don't know. Maybe that's just my judgment of that. So what have you seen? Like, what have you come up with when you have that? Do men really receive that conversation?
Well, how does anyone receive that conversation? Yeah. It's all about how, and this is where it comes back to standing in your financial powers. You have to know your worth as an individual, not even just as a woman, as an individual. Mm-hmm. And, you want to stand in your power and have that conversation. Is it a comfortable conversation to have? Absolutely not. But as I said, the alternative to that is not great either. So we want to make sure that we're having the conversation, and it's all about the way you approach things as well. If you, there's a sense of pride that comes from having your own means, to be able to contribute in different ways. You know what I mean? So it's just about how you actually approach that conversation. You want to approach it from a loving perspective and be like, hey, honey, I've been thinking about this. You go out to work, I'm at home, but I want to receive some money because I do want to contribute to the household, this. So it could be that you're contributing back to the household in a different way. It's all about how you position it, but it is important that you have that conversation and then you take some kind of financial means from the income that's coming in. And as I said, and also, even if you I don't care whether you contribute, whether it be $50 a month or whether it be $500 a month, okay? But we need to be looking at putting some kind of financial security in place, because as you touched on, when a woman has financial security, she's able to relax and she's able to make decisions from a place of empowerment. And what happens in a lot of relationships is when a woman becomes married and she has children, she disempowers herself. And this is financially is just one of the ways that it happens, because obviously the man goes out to work, he's bringing in all the income, and the woman's left looking after the children, and she's got no financial means to take care of herself. So it's all about, as I said, it's all about stepping into your power, having that conversation, as awkward as it may be, and just putting some boundaries in place about what that actually looks like, because you're both contributing to the raising of your family in different ways. And I just think, from a society perspective, it is changing. It's getting there, but it's still way behind where it should be in terms of a woman's contribution to the household. Just because it's unpaid work doesn't mean it should be unpaid work.
Yeah, I think it should be paid work, but
yeah,
that's
absolutely.
I mean, I did not do it. I chose not to do that work, but I see my friends. I'm like, or my mom, like growing up in that situation, is like, yeah, she needed to get paid a lot of money. Yeah. But Barbara, so for awareness, same-sex couples also, should be in the scenario. Thank you for that. So let's talk about money, because money. I just heard someone speaking about money, and that how money loves to be talked about, be of top of mind. Like, can you talk about the energy around money?
Yeah. So I always say, like, we're a conduit. Like, literally, we are a conduit. So, when they say money is currency, it is literally currency, and we're the conduit. So the energetic feeling that we have about money determines how we give money and how we receive money. So we need to make sure that that frequency is one of abundance. So when we're thinking about, as I said, the majority of the population lives in a fear-based scarcity mindset. And that's because of the way we've been programmed, and also the way our subconscious mind works, which I'm not going to go into in too much detail here, but our subconscious mind is almost primitive. It looks for the fear-based thinking to back up the beliefs that it has. So it's really, really important that we're constantly rewiring our mind to look for those abundance-based opportunities. So we always want to be thinking about, well, how can we be moving into that abundance-based mindset? What are some of the things that we could be doing to be creating more opportunities to bring about more money? But how we think about money determines how we feel about money, and then how we act in our relationship with money. So this is why our mindset and our beliefs around money is really important to understand, because it underpins our entire relationship with money. And the truth is that, most of our beliefs live at a subconscious level. We're only ever operating in 5% conscious awareness. But the 95%, which is where the subconscious beliefs live, is the things that rule our entire life. And these are the things that show up in our daily habits and our behaviors with money. So, what I would say to anyone who's watching is just pay attention to the language that you use with regards to your relationship with money. How do you speak about money? Do you say, I can't afford this, I can't afford that? How do you respond when you're dealing with money? Are you neatly folding your notes in your purse or your wallet, or are you scrunching them up? Do you, when you get to give, the small change, do you take the small change, or are you kind of like, oh, no, it's fine, you can keep it? All of these things are universally, and I don't want to go too woo on this, because I'm actually very analytical, but there is a science to all of this, because it is energy. So we need to be careful about the energy that we're putting out about money, because as I said, it ultimately determines how we're receiving it and also how we're giving it as well. And as we know, it goes in, it's karma, it goes in ebbs and flows, it's full circle. So we need to pay attention to that.
Yeah, I mean, some women, I've had that where you look at the bill and you're like, I don't even want to open that bill. Right? You're like, I know you're there, but I'll just shred you real quick. I'm just talking for me, right?
Yeah.
I'll just shred you real quick and pay pay some of the balance off, but I don't want to really know what's in there, right?
Yeah.
So can you
Yeah.
speak into that whole?
Yeah, so we all have different personality types when it comes to money. Some people are avoiders, which is what you are describing. Some people are hoarders, where they don't want to let their money go at all, and they're counting every penny. So it's important to understand that relationship. So by avoiding, I'll use your example, Amy, because a lot of women do that. By avoiding, again, it's a form of disempowerment, and it's because we're fearful of something. And usually it's because we're afraid of what we're going to say, But the reality is that by burying our heads in the sands and avoiding it, all we're doing is creating more of the inevitable. Again, what I always say to my clients is, because obviously I work primarily with women in business, and the same thing, they're afraid to look at their numbers. They're afraid to understand what's going on in their business. And I say, you know what, put on your favorite song, pour yourself a large glass of wine, if that's your thing, or coffee, or, chai latte, whatever it is. Take a deep breath and just start to get into the sense of looking at the numbers. Because the reality is that you cannot change your financial situation whilst you are coming from that place of disempowerment. And I know that might be very scary for some people, especially if they're not in the best situation financially. But the only way for us to change it is by controlling it. And that's where we have to step into our financial powers as a woman, take a deep breath, face up to the realities of what's going on. And I said, as scary as that might be, what you'll find is the more you do that, the easier it becomes and the less emotional you become about it. Because once you start to gain control, because that's all it is you feel overwhelmed, you feel fear, because you just feel like you're out of control with it. But once you start to re-engage with that sense of control, then what happens is you start to then control your emotions behind it as well. And I always say that we have to master our mindset and emotions in order to be able to master our money. So it's important that we pay attention to that as well.
Mm-hmm. So, and I want to speak into, because, I started this business a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so as an entrepreneur, money became a different energy and reason. And so can you talk about money and entrepreneurship? Because it's different than having like a job. Money,
Yeah.
And then entrepreneurship with the money, you have to give a lot. You have to move forward with money.
Yeah, absolutely. Right? Yeah, absolutely. And it's about stepping into the CEO mindset, and understanding. So what I always say is that your business is one of the best wealth creation assets you could ever own. So, and having been a financial advisor, you will never ever get a return on any investment like you will at your business, which is an asset. So it's our job as an entrepreneur to make sure that we're getting the returns from that investment. And that means facing up to your numbers. We, as I said, because of the emotions behind money, a lot of women in business will avoid doing the numbers. And let's face it, for a lot of people, they don't find it fun. And one of my biggest things is to make it fun, because I'm like, at the end of the day, money is simply maths. So once you understand the maths and you look at the data and you take the emotions out of it, then all you do is you start to understand how to multiply the maths to then generate the revenue or the profit in your business that you desire. And so we need to really, as women in business, pay attention to our numbers, because our numbers are the things that are telling us the true health of our business. It's not the shiny thing, it's not this fluffy, like, creative thing that people love to do. I get that for women in business, it's probably the last thing that they want to do. But the reality is that without financials, without that revenue, you have no business. So the revenue should always be, and the profit, more importantly, I always say this as well, as a woman, in business, revenue is just a vanity metric. What's most important is our profit. So I don't care whether women are earning 5 figures in their business or whether they're earning 7 figures in their business. What I care about is what's in the middle and what are they doing with that middle component. So it's, again, as a woman in business, you need to pay attention to your numbers. And again, it comes from a place of empowerment. When you know your numbers and you're able to look at the data and understand the data, it means that you're able to make better decisions in your business that are going to help to grow your business and make it more sustainable. Because at the end of the day, all that really matters in business is the longevity of that business. It's all, you know, it's all well and good having a flash in the pan, like big launches or these big months in business. But if you don't have the means or the foresight to be able to forecast what's coming in and what's going out, and you don't know the longevity of your business because you don't know the numbers, then you could leave yourself in a position where you're financially choking yourself. And obviously this is where we see cash flow issues come into business, and that's where we see businesses fold because they're not paying enough attention to the numbers. And as I said, at the end of the day, what matters in business is cash. Cash is king. That's all that matters, is what's the numbers that's in your business, what's being reflected, and that's what we need to pay attention to.
Mm-hmm. But I want to speak into also because some women don't. Some women don't move forward in their business because they don't want to be in debt.
And yeah, and I don't believe anyone should be in debt. There's you know. There's, in the industry, they say there's good debt and bad debt, okay? What ends up happening in business is people go into a debt for bad debt. So consumerism. So they buy things they don't need to impress people that they don't even like. So if you are going to go into debt for business, and I'm not saying that no one should go into debt for business because it can be unavoidable, okay? But if you are going to go into debt for business, you need to make sure that you have a game plan and a timeline to actually ensure that whatever you're going into debt for is generating an ROI and has a specific means to be able to generate your revenue. So if it's not contributing to your revenue in your business, then you shouldn't be going into debt for it. So that's what I would say on that subject.